time for X-Men Origins Wolverine. Jimmy. Okay. X-Men Origins Wolverine. When this came out, it was hype because Wolverine was forcefully made the star of this franchise. After Hugh Jackman made it big with the first two, he was pushed forward in the next one, which is why Hugh Jackman's at the forefront of the third one, and then he got his own film. Despite the fact that he was kind of have his own film in the first three, but he finally got X-Men Origins Wolverine. It was supposed to start a whole new kind of thing. Supposed to have X-Men Origins Magneto, which turned into X-Men First Class, and that's because this movie tanked. Now, I'm going to say straight out, I don't hate this movie like other people do. There are people that outright hate this movie. I don't. There are a few things I don't like about this movie, such as the representation of Deadpool and the fact that they have Cyclops in this film. How are they going to explain that? And, I mean, as far as we know, if they did a sequel, Cyclops would be dead, so they wouldn't have to explain it. But then you have Professor X show up, and he's supposedly dead, but he can come back, you know, because of the whole thing at the end, which I didn't know about. I didn't know about the post-credit scene in Last Stand until Days of Future Past was coming out. It was after we saw the Wolverine, and I was talking to my friend, and I'm like, how does he come back? And I'm like, well, you know, there's that scene at the end of X-Men Days of Future Past. I'm like, or at the end of X-Men Last Stand. I'm like, no, it's not. I thought I forgot the thing. I'm like, he's like, yeah, there is. So I watched it. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I didn't know that. It's like, I didn't know there was one at the end of Iron Man either, but, so I said I don't like the representation of Deadpool, although I don't like it now. When it first came out, I had no clue what kind of character Deadpool was. I knew it wasn't this character. People were getting pissed about it, but I didn't know what it was about. And so, I mean, I didn't care for the way the character was represented, but I knew it wasn't the right character, like it wasn't Deadpool, but I had no, and once the Deadpool movie came out, then I was like, yeah, fuck X-Men Origins Wolverine's Deadpool. Another thing I didn't like is making them brothers. They're not brothers. I understand that, this is their attempt at doing a rivalry with them. Give them a rivalry. The biggest thing about the animated series is they had some sort of rivalry the whole time, stemming from the fact that Victor, Sabretooth, killed the woman that Wolverine loved. Now, he didn't remember this, and we'll talk about how they get rid of his memory, because that's... But, some of the things I do kind of get in this. Like, people complain, why did they fake her death? And then she's... In the animated series, I keep going back to this. There was an episode in which Wolverine and Victor, Sabretooth, are drawn to this facility. There, they meet up with two other people who were there, and that's Silver Fox and Havoc. And it turns out Silver Fox and Havoc are now a couple. And they didn't mention that Havoc was Cyclops' brother, but that would have made more sense. To have Havoc a part of this. He's part of X-Men First Class, which, okay, but he would have been made sense to be in this. That would have been the one that made sense. They insert Gambit, and Gambit's one of my favorite X-Men, don't get me wrong. And I don't think Taylor Kitsch is bad in the role. It's just... he's not on screen for very long. There's, there's this fight scene between him and Wolverine, and then Victor shows up, and he still inserts himself into this fight now, and then he takes Wolverine to the island, disappears, and shows up at the end. And that's it. And it's like, and then we never got Gambit again. They were supposed to have Channing Tatum have a Gambit movie, but that never came around. If or when Marvel reboots the X-Men in the MCU, put Gambit in there, because that's one of the things. Is they would bring in characters like Kitty Pryde and Colossus, but no Gambit until this. And even he wasn't done right. I thought it was okay. The fact that I understand in the comics and history his real name is James Howlett. That's his name. But the fact that Sabretooth calls him Jimmy the entire movie, it's just like, why do you keep calling him Jimmy? I understand he comes up with the name Logan, but here's the thing. He doesn't coin the name Logan till after he's lost his memory. And the way they do the memory loss thing in this is wrong too. It's the procedure that causes his memory loss. He does the procedure, he loses his memory, he freaks out because he doesn't know what's going on, and he runs naked through the woods. That's what's supposed to happen. That's what they showed us. Except for the naked running through the woods part, but they showed us the procedure in the first two films. I remember going into the theater and they did this, the procedure in the middle of the film. I'm like, why are they doing this in the middle of the film? This is supposed to be how he loses his memory and escapes. And when the lady says, erase his memory, I'm like, okay, this is how they do it. I'm like, so he's going to go without a memory for the rest of the film? Or this is a very short film, but then he breaks out, does this thing there. I'm like, no, he's supposed to lose his memory from the procedure, not after. How did they come up with it? An adamantium bullet. Despite the fact it wouldn't work. Now, I'm not familiar with gun specifics, but I'm pretty sure that when you fire a gun, it heats up, right? Now, I'm not 100% sure about this, so don't quote me on it. But in X2, Stryker talks about how you gotta keep the adamantium hot, or you can never melt it again, right? So if it heats up, it's gonna melt again, right? Is that what I'm getting? I don't think you can mold adamantium into bullets, first of all. I don't know if that would even work. And I don't know. It's an ex machina, just a way to get him to lose his memory. But or you could have just done, I don't know, what it was supposed to be, the procedure. But no, you wanted to have the procedure in the middle of the film and have this big thing on an island that was never mentioned in the previous films at all. The whole thing with X2 was that what's it called? I forget what it's called. The Alkali Lake was the setting of how he escaped. There's marks and stuff when he was there. That's the facility he escaped from, and all this happened. They even show him having flashbacks of doing it and running away. That's where he's supposed to lose his memory. But because they wanted to put that in the middle of the film and had this big battle with Deadpool at the end, that had to come in the middle. It's very simple. I went into this movie when I first watched it, I went to the theater to see it, that it was going to end with the procedure. Now, they showed that he has metal claws, or their bone claws, which, I don't know about the comics, but it's never been a thing for me. Not in the animated series, not any other version I've seen, except for the film series, and maybe the comics. Bone claws are fucking stupid, alright? I understand if they're in the comics, I do, but the Wolverine that I grew up with, it was very obvious, before the procedure, he had no claws. No claws whatsoever. It was just, and, you know, and even in the first X-Men film, he's tortured by these claws. When Rogue asks him, does it hurt? Every time. That's not someone who has lived with bone claws his entire life. That's someone who's had to deal with the bone claws given to him by the procedure. Which means that they had no plans of having bone claws before this fucking movie. Alright? And it might be in the comics, I don't know. But, to me, the idea of bone claws are fucking stupid. They just wanted him to have some sort of weapon beforehand to make him so that they wanted him to do the whole scene at the beginning, and they needed to have him have some weapons. How's this to make sense? One, you just don't make them brothers. And two, it would make more sense if Victor was the one that killed the guy. And make it Wolverine's father. I know it's his father. Don't make them brothers. Make it Wolverine's legitimate father. Let's have the teenage Creed go nuts. Alright? Let's make it where instead of this thing, let's make it where Logan's father was having an affair with Sabretooth's mother. Alright? He goes nuts and he kills Logan's father, which starts this epic rivalry that causes Wolverine to chase him through all the wars and try to track him down. Doesn't that make more sense? I mean, I know it's not in the comics, that makes more sense than being brothers. And it causes the rivalry we need, right? And then you bring in Stryker, and they're both forced to work for him. Or you can even do this. You can bring in Stryker later, right? You can have Victor show up, kill Kayla, right? Whether it's for real or not, have him kill Kayla. Most likely, he should be for real. And then Stryker comes in with the thing. You want to take him down? I can give you what you need to take him down. Adamantium claws. Boom. Shing. There we go. He didn't need to have bone claws beforehand. Just expended healing. Alright? And then, or expanded healing, whatever. Just, super healing. Which is only mutant power to begin with. And then, there's your reason, Revenge, he gets the claws. And it can even be at the end of the film, too. Work that in there. Even if it has to be in the middle of it, you could stage the climax back at Alkali Lake. Say that, have Victor show up wanting the metal claws, which is what they did in here too, and they say that it's not going to work on him. But then they play it around saying, oh, he's using us. I'm like, no, it makes sense that it wouldn't work on him. That's from the cartoon too. It would never have worked on you. And then Stryker, Wolverine shows up. There's a fight. Something happens. Maybe it's not the procedure. Or maybe there is. Maybe there's an explosion. And they're both knocked unconscious, right? So Stryker erases both their memories. Right? And you do a scene where Wolverine wakes up, not knowing what's going on, escapes, slashes his way through, and accidentally releases Sabretooth. And Sabretooth runs off and is found by Magneto, setting up his connection, although it's not really the same Sabretooth, but I'm just saying. And then you have Logan running through the woods, maybe naked, I don't know, show, but I don't care. And that sets it up perfectly. You don't need all those extra mutants in there. Like, you have the Blob I think he should have been part of Magneto's crew anyway. I don't know why you... If you were planning on using the Blob, why didn't you use him for part of the... Because you know... Like I said in my review for the first X-Men movie, I had no idea who Toad was. To me, the Brotherhood of Mutants were Pyro, Mystique, and Avalanche. And occasionally Sabretooth. Sabretooth did not work for Magneto. He was rogue on his own. And he wasn't some silent henchman either. He was very vocal. But I'm working for Magneto in this because... I think Liev Schreiber's portrayal is actually pretty good, to be honest. And of course, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. You can't say anything bad about Wolverine. Well, the movies, but performance is always good. Now, I know I said we can decide I don't mind this one, and I really don't. To me, it's still enjoyable. The action, the explosions, everything. It's still enjoyable. It irks me sometimes, you know. And to be honest, I think it's better than the last 10. I'm sorry, but I do think it is. So, is there anything else I need to say about this movie before I get my rating? Because I'm trying to think. I know the Deadpool thing is kind of added, but now we got this. And according to this, that doesn't exist anymore either. Neither does Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern, but I choose not to think of the ending of this as canon. But, yeah, just overall, yeah, the movie is, it's not good. But it's not the clusterfuck that was The Last Stand. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, people say, oh, X-Men Origins is the worst X-Men movie. Or at least they did before Dark Phoenix came out. And maybe it could have been the worst X-Men movie. Not really. It's the worst Wolverine movie. Because to me, the three Wolverine movies are not really X-Men movies. They're connected to the X-Men universe, mostly. But all three of the films are very separate from the X-Men franchise, if you think about it. This one is an origin story that does not connect with the rest of the franchise at all. Though Wolverine is in Japan, far away, and while it connects to Days of Future Past, they jump so far ahead and don't really connect that one that you could say it's sort of standalone anyway. There's that post-credit scene, or mid-credit scene, whatever, but other than that, I thought they were going to pick up right from that, and they jumped to like 15 years in the future, or something like that. Maybe less than that, but it jumped to the future all of a sudden, and we'll get to my thoughts on Days of Future Past, because I do have some thoughts, even though I do like that movie. But, and then you got Logan, which is also disconnected, because we get this future from Days of Future Past, and then the story we're given in Logan kind of negates that, in a way. So it's kind of, you know, set away, and then Dark Phoenix just kind of says, fuck you anyway. But I'm just saying, the Wolverine movies have always been separate in some way in continuity from the X-Men films. So while, you know, you could say that X-Men Origins Wolverine is the worst X-Men movie, but to me, it's not an X-Men movie. It's a Wolverine movie. It's the worst Wolverine movie. The worst X-Men movie is Dark Phoenix. I'm sorry, but when that's the only X-Men movie that I really hate, I didn't even want to buy that. But I knew I had to do the X-Men franchise, and I'm sorry, $25 for that? No, not $25. $22, whatever, $22.96 or whatever Walmart puts, but still. Although I will say, I don't have to watch it again, but I think Dark Phoenix might be better than Joker. Anyway, so my rating for X-Men Origins Wolverine is a 7 7 out of 10 for me. What are your thoughts on X-Men Origins Wolverine? Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.